as time is flying, which is a more technical one, a more which is, I think, extremely important to discuss, which is the allocation of jurisdiction between dispute boards and arbitral tribunals. So I will start with you, Sotiris. Maybe to start with the basic question: where does the board's jurisdiction end and the tribunal begins?
Mindful of time, and because we want our kind Greek-speaking moderator to remain calm, I'll be extremely brief. Now, the boundaries, the first place to look at is the wording of the multi-tier dispute resolution clause. And that, here comes the relevance of what Mohamed was describing, because this clause 2 must be very carefully drafted. In principle, DAABs or DABs decide contractual disputes during project execution, while tribunals decide disputes either upon dissatisfaction notices or a failure of a party to comply with a DAB decision, or even post-project. Again, in principle, DAB's decision remain binding until replaced by an arbitral award. Now, this interplay of powers of jurisdiction, dispute boards, arbitration, is tested when the need comes for interim or provisional protection. I will pose some pertinent questions. Of course, I will not give answers. Does a DAB have the power to grant interim measures? Most likely, especially in a FIDIC, the answer is yes. Can or must a party submit a notice of dissatisfaction against such an provisional order? Practice shows that a party will not do so. It will make a reservation that it is disagrees, is dissatisfied, and wait until the decision to submit a notice of dissatisfaction afterwards. A more tricky one: can a party resort to emergency arbitration to seek protection against a DAB interim order or a decision? I couldn't find any reported case to share with you, but again, in principle, the answer would be positive in both situations. Now, what happens when a DAB is not in place? So what is the appropriate or the most effective way to seek interim protection? There are particular considerations here. Does the contract provide for such power to the DAB? Again, under FIDIC contracts, the answer is most likely yes, unless the parties have agreed otherwise. Is the interim relief sought is directly related to the DAB scope? For example, to ensure project cash flow or to ensure the execution of certain works. Then maybe the DAB should have priority over the emergency arbitrator. Does the relief sought go beyond the DAB scope, for example, to protect off-contract rights or ensure procedural rights? Then recourse to emergency arbitrator may be justified. All in all, in situations like that, we need to consider the urgency of the situation and the risk of irreparable harm. And we should keep in mind first that if the DAB is not in place, it takes some time to be constituted, as opposed to the emergency arbitration, where you have the emergency arbitrator within a couple of days, plus access to justice in such situations and circumstances should not be denied. And I will finish, Clément, with one reported case, ICC1. The respondent there argued that the parties opted out from the emergency arbitration mechanism by concluding a FIDIC contract, including the DAB provision. So the emergency arbitrator in that case concluded that he lacked jurisdiction based on the old 2017 Article 29(6), paragraph 6.c, and accepted that the parties had agreed to another pre-arbitral procedure. But what is important in my mind in this precedent is that the emergency arbitrator noted that this is not an automatic exercise, and what mattered for the emergency arbitrator in that case is that a DAB was indeed in place and had the power to issue interim measures. And my conclusion is that in the opposite situation, it would be reasonable and prudent to assume that the emergency arbitrator would have kept the case. That's it. Thank you.